Welcome to another edition of African Boss. Thank you for joining us and thank you for supporting us. Please subscribe and share our videos. We have got lots of videos for you. We've got interviews of African personalities, everyday heroes, and we just talk about issues about Africa, politics, and other social events. Today I feel that I need to talk to the African people, African parents, young people, especially those that are in the diaspora. Sometimes we have this sense of security that maybe we've lived in a country for a long time and we are going to be treated equally. But a case in point is in what happened in Australia. There are three African Australians, all Australians of African origin. So these are black African girls. They live in Queensland. They jumped borders from Queensland to Melbourne. Melbourne is where there's a lot of COVID at the moment. And then they went back to Queensland. They are involved in some sort of criminal activities. I think there's talk that they steal expensive high-end stuff like handbags and stuff like that, and then take it across the border into another state to sell all these things and so on and so forth. But that's been investigated by the police. And I think, so it seems that's what they're doing. They're part of that. So these girls are 19 years old. They do sound like they're from Nigeria originally, or maybe from the Sudan. So these girls, it seems that they got infected with COVID from Victoria, and then they brought it into Queensland. Now, no one is backing up this behavior. It's criminal. It's putting the whole state at risk. In my opinion, once the media houses knew that they were African, it was open season. There have been a lot of COVID positive people that have broken the law. They've left their homes and even gone to work and thrown parties and all those things. But none were displayed and covered in the newspapers like these three girls. This is what I'm saying. It's nobody, as I say, no one is backing them for what they did. The coverage is where there is so much double standards when it comes to covering people that are brown, black, when they've done something wrong as compared to the general population. And a few people have called this, I'm just not making this up, it's been all over. Even the Human Rights Commission spoke against this, the unfairness of it all. Even the police commissioner spoke unfairness of it all, that the Courier Mail is one of those big newspapers in Queensland, owned by Rupert Murdoch.
The headline is Enemies of the State Outrage as Deceptive Teens Cause COVID Chaos. Two teenage girls with COVID-19 have been fined $4,000 each after travelling to Melbourne, saying to authorities about where they'd been. A third woman, the 23-year-old sister of one of the girls who did not travel to Melbourne, also tested positive to the virus late yesterday, sparking fears of a second wave of the pandemic. Now, I'm going to go straight to the Oz, Caleb, and then straight to the Huns, and then I want to get your comments. The front page of The Australian takes this story a little bit further. Bags of trouble, teen trip ends in cluster. Michael McKenna, Mackenzie Scott, two teenagers who tested positive to coronavirus in Queensland allegedly travelled to Melbourne this month on a shoplifting mission to steal luxury handbags, as fears rose that the 19-year-old women had triggered Queensland's first community-transmitted cluster in months. With a sister of one of the pair also testing positive late on Wednesday, it emerged they were wanted by Victoria Police. And then, of course, we go to the front of the Herald Sun. And again, we have the photographs of these two women. Dumb and dumber is the headline. From Melbourne to COVID mayhem. A pair of reckless Brisbane women who travelled to Melbourne, then flew home via Sydney, infected with COVID-19 and lied to avoid quarantine, have sparked chaos in two states. Queensland will shut its border to Sydney-side as AFL teams are evacuating New South Wales, and Brisbane nursing homes are being locked down because the teens spent 8 days mixing in their community before getting tested. Take it away, Caleb Bond.
How thick do you have to be? I mean, seriously, you look at these two young women, and it looks like they've had so much poison injected into their faces that it's gone to their brain.
Enemies of the state. Enemies of the state and the body shaming. I see that gentleman was calling them all sorts of things that they look like, whatever they're injecting themselves has gone into their heads and stuff. So there's been, on social media, it's been open season on social media. They've body shaming them. They're commenting on their looks, on their heritage, go back to Africa and everything else, So there has been such double standards. But if you compare to those that have actually broken the law, that have spread the disease initially, nothing. They were not allowed to put their pictures in the newspaper. No one has been called enemies of the state. I mean, there are people in the security guards that help spread the disease in Sydney. There was a rich couple that threw a party when they were positive COVID. They could not publish their names because of legal reasons or their photos or anything. Nobody. But these poor girls, it's just been terrible. So they're double standards. So please stop having this false sense of security, because it's never like that. It's never going to work for us like that. So we need to tell our young ones, as far as possible, these are if you commit a crime, if you do something wrong, the standards that are going to apply to you are going to be vastly different from the standards that will be applied to everyone else, because of the color of skin, because of where we come from. So these are just facts. I am not making it up. It's easier now to feel maybe a false sense of security with all this Black Lives Matter movement, but this is just last week, in the last week or so, that this is post Black Lives Matter movement and everything else. So we just have to try as much as possible to operate within the confines of the law. I know it's impossible. We're all different. Once the board, everybody knew it was. I just cannot believe the coverage for it. I just cannot believe the way these girls are being treated. While not backing up their actions. The treatment has been appalling, saying it as it is. So talking of COVID, Africa nears 1 million cases, nears a grim milestone indeed of 1 million cases. I think maybe as I speak, we could have hit the 1 million mark. I think someone said one death is a tragedy, or after that, the statistics. We've got about 1 million cases and about 21,000 deaths across Africa. The majority of these cases are in South Africa. And so it's a grim milestone. This is what we have, about 21,000 deaths out of those 1 million cases. So the death toll is relatively low, but 21,000 is a lot of people. South Africa is the worst hit country in Africa, but look at what happened this weekend. In a state, in a province that's really hit badly. It up to you to judge. We are also going to talk about the explosion in Beirut in Lebanon. It's overnight. There was a huge, massive blast. Lebanon obviously is not Africa, but it's a big world event, and our prayers with the Lebanese. Some of us know friends from Lebanon, and it was such a big, huge blast. Apparently, there is a ammonium nitrate, this huge storage of ammonium nitrate. Why they store those things? And they say and others they're saying that there was fireworks or explosives or something. You just wonder what an explosive or fireworks company would be doing in the city at the waterfront, where there's such a huge risk. I know the president has come up and said we will investigate and all that kind of stuff. We'll catch those that are responsible. But it's surprising that a factory like that would be a warehouse or factory would be right in the middle of the city. We're just saying it as it is, and thank you for watching